You know, if you know anything about my history, my background, I'm a South Florida boy, so I love the ocean. I grew up playing beach volleyball in South Beach back in the day. And you can tell who's not a South Florida boy by the sunglass tan on the side of his head. By the way, you ladies looked amazing last night. Seriously, that's you know, the Gamecock Gala is always interesting because, you know, when I get around, I see all, whether it's guys or ladies, I see you guys always in competitive mode. So you're, you know, your hair's pulled back and sweat and pissed and the whole deal. And then you go to the Gamecock Gala and you sit there and you're watching all the athletes and the teams or whatever get on stage and you're like, I've never seen them on campus before. Who are they? No, it's great to be here. And, you know, coaches and I, we you know, it's one of the great things that we have at this university is the camaraderie that the coaches have with one another. Obviously, we don't hang out in the dorms and with you guys. I think there's a mutual respect amongst athletes also on this campus. I really do. I sense it by the way different athletes from different sports go watch all the different teams play. But I can tell you as coaches, there's an unbelievable camaraderie and support for one another. I've been on other campuses and it's not always like that. So it's pretty neat. And as we were talking, you know, obviously you ladies got an unbelievable challenge ahead of you this weekend, you know, and as competitors, that's what we all want. You know, if you're a competitor, you don't want anything easy. You know, it's easy things don't make you achieve greatness. Difficult things make you come together and make you achieve things that maybe even you in your wildest thoughts didn't think you can possibly do. But you learn that because you trust the people with you, you can achieve incredible things. And that's the great thing about what you have in front of you. Think about it. There's some schools that have been playing beach volleyball for how long? You know, this is year 3, 4. Okay? So it's an unbelievable challenge. You are all, or basically it's like our team this year. You know, it's the first time that we had a group of guys that have been through all the emotions because they've been through 4 college seasons. So they were prepared for what was in front of them this year. The seasons, the regular season, yesterday, last week, last year, all that only does is prepare you for what's in front of you. But what's in front of you has nothing to do with what happened yesterday or the day before or whatever game. All those moments do is try to unify and solidify who you become as a team. And then you go from me and her and to we. And that's what those experiences do. And that's the beautiful thing that I know I lived with our team is, you know, the fans, because I'm sure you guys are fans. I'm a fan too. Okay? Sometimes you sit around and you see a team winning. And as a fan, you think they all get along. And the people on the inside sometimes don't get along and they can't wait for it to end because they don't want to be around them anymore, even though the team's winning. And sometimes you don't win the way you'd like to win. And fans on the outside think that, well, that team, they've got a bunch of selfish players. They don't like each other. And in reality, you hate the fact that the season comes to an end because even though you've lost games, you enjoy each other so much. And you're building unbelievable relationships with people you're learning how to trust. Well, our team this past year, we had been through all those experiences. We had been through the good, the bad, the indifferent. We had been through the selfishness. We had been through the immaturities. And now we had the perfect scenario. We had a group of guys that they loved being around each other. They really, going to practice every day was an unbelievable day for me. The days we didn't practice were like frustrating for me. And regardless of what the score of the game was, those guys couldn't wait for the next day. And then you have a team that really, really enjoys being around each other, and you win. That's like the perfect kind of scenario right there. Don't ever allow the opinions of fans, friends, uncles, acquaintances, classmates to interfere with the vision that you should have for your group. Because the only thing that matters is who you all have become because of the challenges of this season, and those of you that have been a part of this before this season, the lessons that ending the last number of seasons should have prepared you for to handle this moment. The regular season is about building your team. The postseason is about your players. As coaches, that's the way I've always viewed it. As coaches, we have to teach lessons. We have to make everyone, not some people, everyone understand what you can and can't do. Because when you get to postseason, there's no tomorrow. So you need everyone's individuality out of the way. Whatever negative emotion might come around needs to be eliminated. And we have to utilize the season to create that personality of the team. And now when you get to postseason, it's solely about you. There's no more lessons to be taught. And if there is, then the team can't win anyways. Postseason should be about, we got to go. And it's about playing. We say 40 minutes. You guys got to play to the last point. You never know. Never know. We were playing Duke in the NCAA tournament. And, it's almighty Duke. And it's Mike Krzyzewski, 1,000 wins. And we're down 7 at the half. And we understand that if we don't win that game, it's over. We come out the second half, the first 3 minutes kind of back and forth. The game stays around 7. All of a sudden, we make a run. We dunk a ball, cut it to 1. They call timeout. So now we're in the huddle, and I'm talking about strategy. And I'm looking at these guys, and they are just, their looks in their eyes, the 5 guys in the game. Those are the guys I was paying attention to. The look in their eyes were like, their focus was as good as I've ever been around it since I've been here. I stopped, and I said, you guys are crazy enough to really think that we're going to win this thing. And Sindarius said, you better believe we're going to win. What are we doing? And I said, next time we got the ball, we're going to run this lob play. And Chris is going to dunk another ball. We broke the huddle. I told my assistants, I said, I can't use the word I used. I told my assistant, these dudes are really, really, you know what. I said, we ain't losing today. And this is 16 minutes to go in the game. They take the ball, they call timeout, they take the ball, they miss, we get a rebound, we come down, we run the play, Chris dunks the ball. I turn to my guys and I said, we're not losing today. And that's the spirit that you have to have. But that wasn't created the night before. That was created because of the trust and belief that they had built. When we lost to Alabama in the conference tournament, you realize, I don't care, I'm old. I don't go to bed at night worried. There were fans that thought I should be fired. Those same people now think I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's the truth. Our players, they had people telling them, you guys stink, you're not as good, you guys let us down, da-da-da. They never believed in that nonsense. They didn't listen to it. Instead, here's almighty Duke, big boy basketball, on the stage that South Carolina had never been on, second round of the NCAA tournament. Never, ever in the history of the school have they been in that round. And those guys didn't want to believe what everyone else said. They believed in each other in that moment right there. And you guys have that opportunity. You got that chance. You don't know what the score is going to be. You got no idea. But if you start worrying about not winning, or you start worrying about the last point, then you're not going to win the next point. And that next point is the one that determines the match. It's not the one that just passed. The only time the one that passes determines the match is when it's the last point of the match. So you never, ever give in. And eventually, you realize that if you keep winning the next point, guess who's going to win the match? And that's the only thing that matters. But you can't win it unless you're unbelievably committed to one another, to what you've practiced for. I just walked out. The joy you guys got warming up for practice tells me, this is my observation, that's a team that really likes being out here. I'm walking. I'm watching you guys interact, spike balls. By the way, when you see my daughter, keep encouraging her. She's fallen in love with volleyball, and I absolutely love it. I didn't like sitting in a place in Charlotte 2 weekends ago and watch 57 volleyball matches with 9-year-olds where my daughter only played in 1. I was like, I got to stay here all day. But it was awesome. I love volleyball. I really did. We used to grow up on South Beach playing. Back then I could move. I had good legs. Now I'm old and 60 pounds heavier than back then. You put me in the sand pit right now, it'd be scary. But just trust in each other. Understand that you have an unbelievable opportunity in front of you. The only way you're going to there's no team needs a hero. There's no such thing as a hero. See, everyone on the outside thought that we were a Sindarius-led team. Yeah, he led us in courage. He led us in personality. Like when the game was kind of getting whatever, or I was mad at one of the young guys because they didn't understand something, Sindarius would grab me and says, I got him. What do you need me to do the next play? That's leadership. That would get me off the negative point and back on board with what the next play was about, which is the only thing that matters. The last play is irrelevant. Last play means absolutely zero. So what, if you win a great point, do they end the match? If it's the middle of the second set? You have an unbelievable rally and you win a point. Are they going to say, all right, unbelievable effort, match is over, you all win? No, you got to play the next point. And if you let your guard down, now you're going to lose the next point. Well, if you lose the previous point, it happens. You play against good teams. Play against good teams. You just got to fight to the end and play every point with the same mindset. But I'm just telling you that usually you can tell by a team when they're coming towards the end of the season, when you just show up the way I did, whether they want to be there or not. My first year here, the guys I had in the locker room at the end of the year, they couldn't wait for it to end. Couldn't wait for it to end. This past year, they couldn't wait to play the next day. And it drove them nuts. And sometimes you don't win. We lose at Gonzaga, their backup center shoots a three-point shot. We're down 14, take a 2-point lead. Their backup center, who's not a three-point shooter, shoots a three-point ball off the backboard that broke our backs. But you know what happened? You go in the locker room, you tear up, you're emotional because you're so invested in each other that you don't get to do it anymore. But as soon as you start separating from that moment, the trust that you built amongst each other is so much more powerful in the score of any game. So much more powerful. I had a person from the media. Media is real smart. I'm being sarcastic. They said to me, well, now PJ declared, so you guys are in total rebuild mode. I said, no, you rebuild when you don't have character, courage, culture, confidence in your locker room. That's when you got to rebuild. Once you build that, you're never rebuilding. You're always fighting to make it better. We got guys that have that. Me walking in, I think you guys got it. Because it's the end of this isn't practice number one, is it? No? You guys have been practicing for a little bit, haven't you? Have you lost some matches? Have you won some matches? When I'm walking in, you guys are having like a great time out there in the sand. And that's just for the beginning of practice at the end of the year. That's the immediate sign for me as a person who coaches for a living. That's the kind of stuff I pay attention to. Them folks enjoy what they're doing. And if you enjoy what you're doing, that means you respect each other. And if you respect each other, then you have to believe in what you're doing and go play the next point. Forget about last match, forget about who beat you, forget about who you beat. It's all irrelevant. The next point, the only thing that matters. Forget about who's on the other side. Don't look at their uniforms. Worry about the play you got to make. Don't worry about who the team is. You know, I remember coaching high school basketball, and I had taken over this one school, and we're playing the number one team in the state. Their coach and I were good friends. We're just scrimmaging. They beat the living you-know-what out of us. I went home, and I was like, well, we don't need to ever play those guys again. And I started thinking about it. I was like, how the heck are we ever going to get better unless we keep playing them? So I call it and say, yo, let's keep doing this. About the 8th time we played, now our guys started to believe that we belonged on the court. And eventually we beat them. That's what happens. So don't worry about who's on the other side. All that's irrelevant. Worry about yourself. Worry about your team, the trust you have for one another, and that next point, which is what matters. Okay? You guys got any questions for me? Anything you guys want to? Huh? Well, know that what you guys do, we all pay attention to. And we got a lot of respect. And You know, a lot of respect for what you do, and we're always rooting for you. You know, unfortunately, I don't get to watch as much as I can or want at this time of year because I'm also a little busy in the middle of the day. But what you do is very important to all of us. You guys represent us in a big-time way with everything you do. Off the court, on the court, academically, community service, across the board. We all pay attention to that as coaches. We all pay attention to that. And obviously what you guys have begun to build here over the last 4 years is pretty special. Something that we all take a lot of pride watching. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Yeah, man. Seriously, that's something right there.
It's perfect.